The Herbert Dennard Show.
Good day and welcome to the Herbert Dennard Show. Today I have my good friend with me from Macon College. We went to college together. And Elaine Lucas. How you been?
I've been good. Good to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
You know, a lot of things have happened over the years as far as voter registration and the efforts that people go through to register voters. And I remember when you got involved in voter registration in Macon, you was working with Robert Brown and Senator Robert Brown and myself and others, and started the Voters League.
Yeah.
And I remember you having some trouble, we having some trouble, but mainly going out into the Walnut Hills area, going throughout Macon, registering voters, and the person that headed the voter registration in Macon tried to have us, and you in particular, locked up. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and you know, people are still trying to lock me up, unfortunately, but I ain't going. I'm not going. Yeah, voter registration has changed so much over the years. It used to be difficult. People didn't want us to register to vote, and so they put impediments in our way, and those things are coming back now. And they're just very, very open about the fact that they're trying to keep you from voting, and unfortunately a lot of us don't vote. You know, we just buy into that thing. People are trying to keep us from voting, and then we don't vote, and then we complain, but people can predict black voters because they don't do what they need to do. When there is an opportunity to vote down consolidation, what happens? You don't go vote. So then you complain forever about the fact that we've got consolidation and it's a major headache for everybody. It didn't, do what was promised. So, I mean, at some point, people ought to realize that there have been sacrifices that we have all made in trying to make sure that people had the right and the freedom to vote. And people ought to realize that it's something that can be taken away from us. There were threats way back in the 70s, late 70s, 80s, to all of us who were with the Bibb County Voters League. We had formed this organization, and we were young, activists in the community, and we registered a lot of folks, set up registrations all over everywhere. Now, you set them up, you got to beg people to come over to the table, and you got to give them a gift, and you got to do this, that, and the other. But it is really hard to convince people that their freedom is not guaranteed. As a matter of fact, the Voting Rights Act has not been extended. So actually, our voting rights are not guaranteed. And under somebody like Trump, you think that he is going to do anything? I'm just so hoping and praying that in November we do what we need to do and send him on back to wherever it is he wants to go. I will help him to pack and to move. And Melania and all of their family, I will go up there and help them. I know you will too. But I hope that we will do that. But there are people who are working as hard as they can to make sure that certain folks, black and brown folks, and anybody who's not a part of their group, that they're trying to keep them from voting. I just don't understand why we don't realize it's important. Anything that folks try to keep away from you like that, there's something to it.
Let me say this, let me relive something. In the 70s, I believe, the guy that was over the voting department here in Macon was a guy we call Colonel Dews.
Colonel Dews, he was retired military.
Retired military. Dews. And he made some efforts. He didn't want voter registration. He didn't want us going out registering people.
Right.
So tell us, what exactly did he do, if you can remember?
Well, actually, he had folks watching us. And we were in the Pleasant Hill area one Saturday, and we had a meeting of the Voters League, and then we spread out over Pleasant Hill to register voters. And so the Board of Elections said that we could not register folks door to door. We could not take the forms and get people registered door to door. They actually, when we went out to register, they actually had the police, and we were under threat of being arrested for registering folks to vote. And now all you got to do is fill out a little card that has 6 lines, 6 spaces on it, and you sign your name, your address, your date of birth, some identifying numbers, and then you sign your name. Even had some, I have some that has postage paid on it. You just take it, stick it together, put it in the, and we won't do it. It's hard. And then after we get on the rolls, if we don't vote in a certain period of time, then they send you a warning letter. You're about to get kicked off. You're about to get kicked off. I'm about to get you off of here. So you can't exercise your full citizenship. You won't even go and keep your name on the list. So it's good that we dealt with this in a time when it was difficult, because we are determined to continue to register folks to
But they
vote.
was talking about locking
Yes,
you
they were.
and us
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
The
just
police
talk.
actually came into the neighborhood when we were there to arrest us for registering door to door.
But you know, I remember we talk about John Lewis getting beat up trying to register people to vote. Going, because back in that time, he was going to Selma, I think it was, and they would not allow black folks to vote. You had to count how many bubbles in a bottle of soap or bar of soap.
Interpret the
Interpret
Constitution,
the
and all that.
Constitution.
Yeah,
And that was only for black people.
yeah,
And when John Lewis and Jose Williams and others tried to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge, what they call Bloody Sunday, the
it was
police
indeed
attacked them.
bloody.
They
Yeah.
attacked them, beat them down, just
Right.
because they was trying to set up a system where everybody could register to vote.
Right, right. That's right. And now there's an economic beatdown of folks. People work at the economic side of it. That's the beatdown. But then there are just some very blatant. What Trump has placed his own person in the Postal Service as head of the Postal Service, one of his major donors. And that donor has slowed down, has changed some of the systems within the postal system to slow down the mail. And people at home actually see that happening, because some folks are getting their mail delivered at 6 in the evening. Whoever got your mail that late? And I've noticed mail that should have come to me like in a day, it takes a much longer time. So I would say to people, there's a way not to just worry about it and keep talking about it, but there's a way to take care of that. You go ahead, and at your first opportunity, you go ahead and vote. You go ahead, and if you're going to vote absentee, get your absentee ballot. You request it, and then you go ahead and fill it out, get it on back in as quickly as you can, so you make sure that there's that slowdown won't keep your vote from being cast. But you got to be aware that all of these things, there are deliberate efforts in place, and this man Trump is saying it to your face. He said, I could walk down the street and shoot somebody and nobody would do anything about it. So anybody that says that publicly, they will do anything. And keeping you from voting is one of the things. Shortening the census. We need to count everybody, because that's how you tell how much representation you have in Congress. How we're slated, I think, in Georgia, if our population is counted right, we should get 2 more Congress people. That's additional representation for us, and our ability is heightened because we're able to have more representation. Those people are able to bring more resources back to this community. Also, your school lunch programs, your repairs to roads and bridges, all of those kinds of things, the amount of resources you get comes from the count, and we need an accurate count. They're shortening the time for the census, which means it's going to be an undercount. And if we don't respond, but here again, Black folks are not answering, are not responding to the census.
I
And
think
so, why would we do that if we're behind already? Our poverty rates are higher. We get less resources in our communities. People don't respond to us like they should. Why would we not do this one thing that would help ourselves?
I
Why
think
would we, and why would we not vote? Because that helps us.
I think on the census thing, the coronavirus, where people used to follow up to find out where to count you. A lot of people didn't fill out the cards and didn't send them back.
Well, right now, there's the beginning of that ending process where folks are going to start coming to your house, identifying you, and coming to your house to get your census information. But even that period of time has been cut short. So Trump is saying to all of us, black and poor people, and women and children, he is saying to us, I'm going to do everything I can so that you're not counted. I'm going to try and make as many of you disappear as possible. I'm going to harass as many of you as possible. I'm going to send armed troops into your community. You're peacefully demonstrating. I'm going to send folks in to beat you down. I don't care if you're a veteran. We're going to beat you with, this nightstick and pepper spray you and stuff. That's what we're dealing with. But yet and still, here in Macon-Bibb County and in other places, we're still not turning out to vote. I don't know what it's going to take, Herb.
What they tell me that younger people are the worst voting bloc
The
of
numbers are the
people,
worst. They have the worst percentages.
and they also tell me that younger people are more apt to vote Democratic if they voted.
If they vote, there are issues, climate change, taking care of people, student debt, decreasing that obligation. A lot of those kinds of issues are issues that younger people feel very strongly about. And if they talk to us, more seasoned people, we care about those things too. We care about climate change. We care about student debt. We care about education. We care about planting, going back to, growing your own and all of that. Country girl, I know about that stuff, and I like all of that too.
I didn't know Bellevue was
But
country.
Bellevue was country. Now the part I was in was country, but now all five of my mama and dad. My mama and dad have stayed married 49 years, and all five of us graduated from high school and went on to additional training. So there's something to be said about the country. But my point was that the more seasoned people believe in a lot of the same things if the younger folks would just sit and talk with us. But what a lot of them have decided to do is to try and push us to the side and say, y'all are old folks, y'all have served your time, get on out of the way, let us lead. But what we learned here at Ficklin, you, me, others of our generation, what we learned was that you connect yourself to some good, solid, smart people and learn from them. And when they're no longer interested in serving or being in that place, you can slide right on in because you've learned from them. It doesn't help you, and you can't succeed if you get into a position and you don't know diddly. You don't read your information, you don't read the history, all of that. If you don't read and you don't know anything, how can you serve anybody? So I would just suggest that you connect. If you want to be involved in politics, if you want to run for office, don't just jump out there and embarrass yourself. Learn from some of us that are very, very willing to share as much information as we can. We're not going to come and just volunteer to give it to you, but you can shadow us. You can start attending meetings. You can start calling us on a regular basis to learn what we know and where you go and get information. We're very, very open to doing that kind of thing. I'm in my last term. I'll be sworn into my last term in January on the commission. I'm term limited. And I would love to mentor some folks who want to learn and who want to be effective leaders, because you got to know your people. You've got to be somebody that believes that you can make a difference, and you got to make sure you know the problems that you're dealing with so you can adequately serve your people. And if you come into governmental service for any other reason other than to be a servant leader, you need to stay home.
Absolutely. But we will be right back. We're going to take a break from
Sweet a prayer, sweet a prayer that calls me from a world of care, and beats me at my Father's throne. Make all my want and wishes known.
Good day, and welcome back to the Herbert Dennard Show. We have my very, very good friend from college, the beginning of college, 1968, Elaine
You don't have to
Lucas.
do
Welcome.
dates. You don't
Well-
have to do dates.
Don't do dates. Okay?
No, ladies don't do dates.
I remember you as one of the smartest persons I met when I was at Macon
I
College.
appreciate it. We've been friends a long time, and you've always said that, and I truly thank you for that. My mom and dad had told me too, that I could do. I was pretty smart, and they told me do something with it. Make sure that when people do stuff to help you get to a point, that you reciprocate. Make sure that you do something for the community, and I've kept that. And you've always been encouraging as well.
Your mother and father had 5 children.
5, yeah.
All of them finished high school.
All of them finished high school. We were little old country children in Bellevue, down in the bottom in Bellevue, Crestwell Heights. We call it Crestville Heights, down near the rock quarry down there. And 5 of us, everybody finished high school. We were poor, but we had what we needed. Every Friday night, my daddy came in, it was payday. He came in with a bag of treats and special stuff for us, Christmas, and we never missed. We didn't know what we were missing. We were just well loved and taken care of, and we appreciated our parents because they stayed together for 49 years, and they taught us to love each other, to look out for each other. But they also said that if a lot is given to you, and I know there's a Bible verse, but I don't want to mess it up and have the preachers messing with me about it. But the Bible does say that, if a lot is given to you, that you owe it back. And I believe that, and my parents said that. So I've just always lived by that, and will continue to.
Your parents, I'm going to guess, was not very rich.
No.
But how did they have the children, 5 children, in a poor environment, poor but didn't know it, turn out so well?
Well, they encouraged us, and my mom went to the 8th grade, and but she was very good in English. She loved language arts, and my mother always made sure that we did our homework, that we were about school. and they attended our graduations from elementary school and also from high school. And that was just something you just didn't live in a house and have parents like Leonard and Ella Huckabee and come in there with bad grades or all kinds of stuff. And they had rules. I mean, a lot of things that a lot of people don't have now. Their rules, you didn't date until you were 16. They didn't care how cute you were or how ready you were to do whatever. 16, then they released you a little bit. But we had a good life, a good, poor life growing up, but we never went without anything. And my mom and daddy for 49 years stayed together till my dad passed over 20 plus years ago. And my mom passed at 90, 2 years ago. But they always said, watch your back. They always said, do for other folks if you can.
The education you went on to Savannah State
Right.
did very well there. Come back and taught at Springdale. And
Yeah.
at some point in time in your career, although you had been in the civil rights movement, you was in the voters registration era. You protested, but at some point in life, you decided to open a school.
Right.
To graduate some of the people that had dropped out of school, they can go back to your school. Tell us briefly about it and tell us about where you're at now.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I retired from the Bibb school system, teacher and counselor, with 30 years, and then I worked another 8 years. And my last 8 years was at Hutchings Career Center as a graduation coach and counselor. And during that time, we were supposed to be helping students to stay in school by whatever means we could come up with, whatever they needed, housing, food, whatever. And I found that there were a lot of people who were pushing children out of school. And a lot of kids just didn't, it just wasn't right for them then. So when I left the school system, I was looking at the area of education. And Dr. Ficklin came to me one day and said that there were some students who were having some trouble. Their diplomas, they needed to get their high school diploma. They needed to finish up. It needed, in other words, to bridge that gap between not completing high school and getting to the military or on the job or whatever. So we came up with the idea of EL High School Academy. It was EL High School Home Study Academy, where students who were already working or who were just not quite finished with high school could come back and get into an accredited program. And we are accredited through the Georgia Accrediting Commission. That was a year-long process to get the accreditation. And when we got that, we were able to graduate our students with their high school diploma. They're able to go on to college, technical school, the military, advancement on their job. A lot of them are able to get a job because a lot of requirements include, did you finish high school? And more, you can't get a job unless you have a high school diploma. You could have a GED too, and there is a place for the GED program. It's a very good program, but we offer a high school diploma from an accredited school. Dr. Henry Ficklin serves as the chair of our Distinguished Educators Board of Directors, and Dr. John Swint is our vice chair of that committee. And we have a board of advisors that helps us to keep the school going in the right direction. There are about 30 people who've agreed to help us, and you're on our board, and we appreciate your service to us as well to help encourage these students. And I'm just real pleased to announce that as of this year, we have graduated over 1,000 students of all ages from 16 and above with their high school diploma. And these students have impacted their families. They have gone on to get that job they wanted. They've gone on to advance on the job to a higher position. We have some in the military who, and the military government calls us back or sends us correspondence where they want to have us to fill it out so that these students can get the highest security clearance in the military service, which says something. We're real pleased to do that. We have people who are in the area of corrections, and we provide their transcript for them. People have gone on to college. As a matter of fact, a young man, one of our graduates, just finished Bethune-Cookman College. So for those haters out there who think that the school is not accredited, that, it's not about, I've heard some people say, oh, that's not about anything. Our students are making progress out there. They're going on and living their lives, and over 1,000 families have been impacted because they got that high school diploma.
And all of those people, I often say this, one of your greatest things that you have done, and you've been involved in a lot of things. You served on the city council, now you serve on the commission. You've served on a lot of organizations. You've protested. You registered voters. But one of probably the greatest things that you probably have done is started the school that getting people to get their high school diploma that don't have it.
Yeah, well, just to see a person come in, their head is down, they don't have a lot of self-confidence, they've been beaten down by the education system that they weren't able to be successful in, relatives telling them they can't do anything, you're not going to be anything. You'd be surprised how many students come in with that attitude, or some who just say, I'm going to quit. I can't handle this. I can't do this. I just cannot. And then to see them, however long it takes them to finish, to see them with their head held high and receiving that diploma, and now they're able to get a job. And I tell them, I said, take your diploma and make sure that those haters, the folks that told you you couldn't do it, make sure that they see it and invite them to your graduation. So you could, and you don't have to say a word, just walk across the stage and receive your diploma. You have to show folks, you can't tell them.
Let me ask you this, is this for black folks only?
This is for anybody. We have graduated black folks, white folks, Hispanic folks, Oriental folk, whoever comes. We have all age groups, from the youngest, which is 16. You have to be at least 16. And we even encourage the students to stay in traditional school if they can, but with the pandemic and everything, everybody's doing the EL system, of home study. Everybody realizes that it's the way to do it. But all of these folks, we have folks in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s who have graduated, and the pride that they show when they walk across that stage and get their diploma, because they have to earn it now. They work hard. They probably work harder in this program than they do in a traditional setting, because you can sit up in a classroom, and not be paying attention and, with your head down. But with this, you have a schedule that you build, and you have certain amount of work that you have to do 5 out of the 7 days for 2 hours. So it is a tight program. It's a really good program, and students realize how much they already know, not how much they don't know, or how many times they can be tricked, or how many wrong answers they can put down. They find out how much they already know from the schooling they went through and just living life. And they're just so amazed at what they already know.
I am amazed at the work you're doing, and I am...
Well, it's not just me. There's a committee, a full board of advisors that keeps us on track, because we have 39 standards that we have to meet in keeping the school, or we'll lose our accreditation. So we maintain that, but it's more than me.
In closing that, if a person want to go back to school and get their high school diploma, where are you located? And speak slowly. what is the phone number they might can call to get some information? I'm
Okay.
pushing you.
Oh, yeah, and thank you. We are located in the Northeast Plaza Shopping Center. That's where Roses on the east side. We're right behind the Cadence Bank and the Popeyes Chicken in the Northeast Plaza Shopping Center, 624 Sherling Drive in the Northeast Plaza Shopping Center. And our phone number is, of course, we're 478 257 6767.
Let me do this here. If somebody's looking for a pencil or something to write this thing down on, so give us that number one more
The
time.
number is area code 478 257 6767. We've got all the sevens and the sixes in for Al Lucas.
Okay.
His number was 76, so we got the phone number with as many sevens and
Sevens first.
sixes in it.
Appreciate-
257 6767.
Appreciate you stopping by, my friend, and we will be right back.
Tell me what can wash away my sin, Lord. Tell me what can make me whole again, Lord. Oh, it's the blood of Jesus. It's all how precious it is. It'll make you white as snow. No other have my love again. Oh, it's the blood of Jesus.
Welcome back to the Herbert Dennard Show. I have with me today my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Henry Clay Ficklin. Welcome.
Glad to be here, Herbert.
The election was yesterday. Give me some observations on it.
Well, I think that the runoff election, we really had about a common number of people that came out for the primary. We had like 39,000 people to vote in the election on yesterday, and back on June the 9th, we had right around 40. So it didn't drop off a whole lot. A lot of people came out because this was a very passionate kind of race. There was a lot of things that went into it that normally we don't see in races in Macon, but it was quite passionate, and of course the people came out more so than they usually come out for a runoff, but yet that's still a low turnout. That's still about a 30-some percentage turnout for Bill County. We have 104,000 registered voters in Bill County, and of course then we have 8,000 that are still on the, they need to come in so that their name can be certified as being a regular voter. They are at that point where if they don't come in and vote, they'll be kicked off the voter roll. So actually we have about 112,000 registered voters, and when you can only get 38 or 39,000 out to vote, that's not really a lot of voters coming out.
Why do you think the voter turnout cannot get 80%, 75%, rather than stand in the below 100%? I mean, below 50%.
Well, I think that some people have developed an attitude of, indifference about the races. Some people say, it ain't gonna change. It's not gonna affect me. Don't care who's in there. So they choose not to come out and vote. And then the issues sometimes become so basic, I guess, not issues that really appeal to people, and therefore they don't come out and vote. I think if you get candidates who keep the race on a good high level, and they're offering good, really reasons for why they're running, and then solutions to the problems that people face, I think that the output would be a whole lot better, and people will come out to vote because they are trying to make sure that they get something out of it. But when people are not offered the things that they need to be offered, then certainly they're not going to come out and vote.
You and I, over the years, we've been knowing each other since the 70s. In most elections, we voted basically the same.
Yes.
This election, I voted for Clifford Whitby, and you voted for Lester Miller.
Yes, I did.
This is the first time that we had a difference. Any particular reason why you voted for Lester Miller?
Well, you know, it's been known since 2018 or 17 that I was supporting Lester Miller. Now, if I was the host, I'd ask you, is there any particular reason you voted for Clifford Whitby?
But you're not the host. I'll tell you. But since you asked me,
but let me answer your question. I've known Lester since he was a teenager, and he grew up to be a young man who really kept the values that he was raised in church. He's been at the same church all his life. He went to school here in Macon. He went to Mercer. After he got out of Mercer, he went to Mercer's Law School. And actually, Lester, when he was growing up as a teenager in my classes at Southwest High School, he wanted to be a chef. He wanted to major in culinary arts. And I often told him, I said, Lester, you know, you can cook at home. I said, but you know, I think that you have more to offer than that. And I encouraged him because he always was engaged in class, and anytime we had a discussion or what have you, he was always in it. And he didn't always agree with me on everything. And I like that. You know, I like somebody who challenges me on various things. And so he was that kind of student. And I just knew that there was more in store for him. And when he first ran, after he was a lawyer, he ran to be the Superior Court judge against Judge Brown. And of course, Lance Edwards also ran for that seat. I supported Lester then because I knew who he was. And Lance understood it. I talked with Lance. There was no hard feeling between myself and Lance about my support of Lester. And of course, neither one of them won. Brown beat both of them. So then again, he offered in, I think it was 2012, for the school board out in the Lizella area, where he lives. And of course, I supported him then. And so quite naturally, if he was successful, and I think he's done just a tremendous job on the Board of Education. And quite naturally, after he wanted to run for mayor, that I don't see any reason why I shouldn't support him. And I wonder why other people wouldn't support him. He's somebody who just from Macon has always done good things for people, and not only just as an elected official, but long before he was elected, he was coming to Unionville, helping Kevin Militant with the children over there and doing things, and he's buying equipment for baseball teams. He's just done those kinds of things, just has a heart for people. And one thing you'll notice after he was announced as being the victor last night, the first thing he addressed was the crime and the murder rate in Bill County, which really affects basically young black males. We've had Rickard. I know Rickard too. I've worked with Rickard, but he has not said a single word about this murder rate that we have in Bill County. And the first thing that Lester addressed was that. That tells you something about this person, and that's why I supported him.
Now you want to know why I supported Clifford?
Yeah, if you want to tell me.
He served on the Industrial Authority. He, along with Frank Emerson and all, they brought a lot of businesses to Macon. He's an educated person, and he's a businessman. And He knows how to bring business to Georgia, to Macon. He's done it before. I thought it would be a good opportunity to have him do it some more.
Well, and you know, I never said one foul word about Clifford Whippy the whole time, even though some of his people attacked me greatly because I was supporting Lester. But our decision was not to attack, but just say what we were going to do to improve Macon. And of course, they accused and made all kinds of attacks against people. But at the same time, as far as saying something about Clifford, I never said one vile word about him at all.
I also think that when you have people that are qualified and able to have that position and they are black, I tend to wonder, I support them, but I tend to wonder about Lester. If something like George Floyd situation happened in Macon or something like that, how would he react as opposed to how Clifford would react? And I'm not saying he couldn't, because you have white mayors and governors who have acted the right way in those situations.
Well,
I don't know how he would do it.
Well, I can tell you this, when they had the George Floyd demonstration, Lester was in it here in Macon. He's going to New York for civil rights demonstrations. And see, people just didn't know because he's not someone out there waving a flag saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But you go back and look at the film, Lester's out there marching when they had this march right here in Macon. And then he can show you pictures of where he been in other cities marching for civil rights. That's the kind of person he is. He's not, I don't know where they come with all this stuff, but he's not going to do this and he's not going to do that. Lester addressed one of the biggest problems that we have in Macon, his first statement on the night he was elected.
But tell me this, what will he, or what do you think he could do about it?
Well, you know, one of the things that we have to understand is that people have to be infected with good thoughts. One of the things that a leader does is he plants good ideals in the minds of the people that he's leading. And just by his addressing that, sent a wave out into the Macon community that here is a man who is concerned about that. If you never say anything about it, then people are not going to respond in any way other than to say they don't care. But that element of care has to be planted, and it's planted in the minds of people, you know. And even, you know, as a minister, you know, you remember the story of Jesus and feeding the 5,000 with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread.
I like that story.
Okay, and then the first thing he did after he did that, he put his disciples on a ship and sent them away. And now, as people wonder, why did he send the disciples away? Because he did not want them infected with the idea that these people wanted to make him king. And that was not what his mission was. So he sent the disciples away, so they don't need to be a part of this right here. And so ideals are stronger, as some people say that the ballot is stronger than the bullet. Ideals are stronger than we give them credit for sometimes. We are going to have to make sure that people have a resetting of their mind. And when you can reset people's mind, they're thinking things will happen a different way. And I think that already he's launched a campaign that said, this has got to stop. Now, we have a mayor who's been down there for 13 years, and every year we have a body count of people being killed, young black males. He has not said a single word. Now, the sheriff has done some things and gone out in the community because he's in police enforcement. And so the mayor can take the position that that's the sheriff's job, not my job. But the mayor is the chief elected official in the county. And what he says goes a long way. Just look at what's going on with the coronavirus pandemic. Trump is the leader of the country. A lot of folk won't wear a mask because he won't wear one. And people are dying. we have over 160,000 people who would be alive if the right measures had been put in place. And one of the things that the CDC tells us, that's the Center for Disease Control over the nation, that will curb this pandemic is if people wore a mask. And this man won't even wear a mask. And it was not until a lot of the people around him started coming down with the disease that they started wearing it themselves. So it makes a difference who the leader is and what the leader infects the people with.
Okay, we'll be right back. We're going to take a break for the cause. Good day and welcome back to the Herbert Dennard Show. I'm here with my very, very good friend, the Reverend Dr. Henry A. Ficklin, who pastors the Mount Vernon Baptist Church. How's things going on at Mount Vernon since we're in this economic pandemic?
Well, we are still having church. We do it by conference call, and anybody want to listen to our services, we moved it up to 2 o'clock because the conference lines are not as busy at 2 as they are at 11. And we had revival, we had all the functions.
You had revival?
Yeah.
How do you have a revival?
On the conference line.
You preached?
What I did was I had some of the old, from the 80s and the 90s tapes played from revivalists who had been there, and then I delivered the last message myself. It turned out to be really wonderful. People enjoyed it.
How do you know how many people? Do you know how many people tune in?
Yes, you can look at the numbers who call in. It's right there on your screen. As the host, I'm the host, and I can see who calls in, and I can see when they hang up and all of that. But then now the thing that I don't see is when we record all our messages, it's the number of people who listen later on, because there is a number that you can call and get all the messages. And you can hear the message back. For instance, if you want to hear my Sunday's message, you can call this number and you can hear it today. But I think that the church is doing fine in spite of the fact that we are not meeting. And I think that what it does is separates people for you. You really find out who are the people who want to hear the word of God, and those who were just there because we were in a place. So that is really something that's good.
How about the money coming in from offerings and
Well, we stress the fact that the church is all example to the world, the physical building of our faith in God, and we cannot let the physical building go down. And our tithes and offerings have been coming in, and And sometimes we get offerings from people that we never would have gotten them from. Like somebody will have told somebody in Augusta, you ought to listen to this right here. And we get a check from Augusta, we get them from Tennessee, we get from
So
California.
there's not, has there been a drop off in tithes and offerings?
I don't think so.
That's what I've heard from other places. That's amazing. People are still giving.
People are still giving.
How long? I'll be like Dr. Martin Luther King said, how long will this go on?
Well, people
He used to say not long.
yeah, people who believe in the Lord and really have a commitment in their heart that this is something that they're supposed to do, they're going to continue to do it no matter how long, because they know that's a part of who they are, and that's a part of their blessing, that they make sure that God's church is taken care of, and God is going to make sure that they're taken care of.
Do you believe that when this is over and the church is reopened, that the new normal will be a lot of people will watch church at home?
It might be, but I think a lot of people are going to want to come to church because, see, man is a social being, and we just have to be around people. We have to be in their presence and what have you. And I think that one of the things that's going to happen is that a lot of people who wouldn't come into church are going to realize the importance of church and come back to church. I've had people ask me, say, when we going to open church back up? And I look at them, I said, this person asking me this, they didn't come when it was open. So, you know, but they miss the idea that it's there for them. And I think that that's going to be, I'm hoping and praying that it'll cause more people to come back to the church.
That's good. Looking at the elections, you had another breakdown. You stayed on the Board of Elections.
Yes, I do.
You had another breakdown where people couldn't vote and they had to extend it for 2 more hours afterwards. What happened?
Well, this was the new machine that reads the printed ballot. Once it's been printed out, you know, you go in there and you put your card in, and then it prints out a ballot. It wasn't reading and accepting the ballots as it goes into the scanner. And of course, that only happened at one place. And of course, maybe I think it was 2 places. But it was not as widespread as the news said. It was 10 machines. It wasn't 10 machines. We only have 1 scanner in there, and the scanner can't work. And it was only for about 30 minutes that they were not able to do it at the beginning of the voting. And it was not considered a major problem because you have breakdowns when you're dealing with technology. And that was quickly resolved. The technician came out there and resolved the problem, and people voted all day long. But just in the interest of being fair to people, we did get a judge's order to extend the vote for 30 more minutes.
Okay. In all the times I remember before there was a new machines, I don't remember we ever having something like that.
You probably don't remember it, but it probably happened. We used to have the DREs, and of course, those machines recorded everything in the actual machine that you put your card in, and then they had to be downloaded so that you could count the vote that was in that machine, and there was no paper there. But since we have been mandated to go towards these paper ballots, and of course voting is so much more, I guess, laborious for the people who are working at the polls now, because they have to set up them, and they have the little pad that they have to check out everybody's status with, and then feed their card to them, and they have to go to their card, put it in the machine, and then they have to pull up whatever it is that they want to vote for. Then it has to be printed out. So we now have printers, we have all of those poll pads, then we have the screen, and then we have the scanner. All that has to be packed up. Then each one of those machines has a battery to it, because we cannot let the machines go down if the power fails. So they all have a battery. So the workers at the poll now are responsible for all of that, and then they have to get all that up and going. And so with that happening and that much responsibility and things to do, quite naturally, out of 31 precincts, to have a 30-minute delay at one place and a 30-minute delay at another place out of 31, I thought it was really good. But now the DREs did have some problems. And the biggest problem with the DREs...
What is the DREs?
Direct recording electronically. And what they do is they record your vote directly in there. You don't know what's in that machine, and that's how they were able to be hacked, because a person can get, who knows how to hack, can get in there and put something else in the machine. Nobody knows what they've done. That's why some of the machines were saying the last time during this 2016 election that they go in there and they say, this is not what I voted for. It's showing me something else, because it was believed that there was widespread hacking of these machines. And of course, we have found out that there were some things being done by the Russians to our machine. So there were problems with those machines as well. Now you probably just didn't know about it, but there were some.
But so you're saying, let me ask you this: where was this at? What section of town were these problems at?
This was at Northeast. Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying there's anything, but it seemed like when there's problems with voting, it's always in a black area.
No, there was one in another area that wasn't a black area. That's what the second one was.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You feel safe with the election coming up, the November election? This is just it's an important election, but the biggie is in November. You feel safe that our election will be on the up and up?
I never feel safe about an election, because I have been in an election where the lines were not drawn right and they sent people away. I lost by 26 votes, so I'm never gonna feel safe about an election. But as far as this machine and this product that we now are using, I think that it's about as safe as it can get. But the safest way to vote is to vote absentee and mail it in. And of course, now we have the president realizing that, and that's why he's messing with the post office. But that's the safest way, is you make sure that you mark your ballot and you mail it in. You don't have to worry about the machine breaking down. And most people during the June 9th primary, when the Secretary of State sent applications out to everybody that was a registered voter, we had over 18,000 absentee ballots that came in. And of course, that's a very safe way to vote. And this time, they wouldn't send out. We had like 9,000 absentee ballots that people received, because some of them automatically get theirs because they're 65 and they check that box on their application, so they're going to get it every time it comes through. But the safest way, I believe, to vote is by absentee.
What about early voting? I know we have early voting in Georgia, but what about the rest of the country? Is there early voting in most states?
Yeah, early voting in most states. And see, we had the unfortunate experience in Georgia where some of our representatives went up there to vote to cut out early voting time. We used to have 45 days to early vote. They cut it down to 20-something. So it's just 3 weeks now. But it used to be a longer period of early voting. Some states still have 40-some days to early vote, but we've cut ours down. I think it's 22 days now.
22 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Other thing is on early voting. The early voting it will start just 20 days before the election.
Yes, out from it. So you can start early voting like in October, and the polls will be open. You can go over and vote early voting in October. One of the things that we are trying to do, and we've been trying to do it for some time now, is to find a second early voting site in Bibb County. Counties all around us, like Warner Robin, has 3 early voting stations that people can go and early vote in. And that certainly helps with the number of people who come out to vote. And of course, in the next ensuing 2 months, really not really too much that we have, that we need to try to identify a place. We had a place, but our mayor decided that they were going to kick us out down into the terminal station, and we had that place, and over there we had 2 early voting places, but they decided because we are just a object of the government, and we have no checkbook. We can't decide things on our own, and so they kicked us out of there, and that put us back to 1 early voting site, and hopefully we'll be able to find another one somewhere soon. And we were hoping to have one by this election, because this is a very important election, November the 3rd.
So you think everything will go okay?
As far as going okay with these machines that we have, I think that they're used all over the state, and what happened in Butte County was minimal compared to some of the problems other people had in other counties. And you saw the news that was made in Atlanta, where they had people that standing in lines for hours. Even Nikema Williams, who is the chairman of the Democratic Party, she said she stood in line 4 hours. Can you imagine that? And they were outdoors and in the rain. So we didn't have any of that in Butte County.
Your progress make it worse sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for the equipment and the storage of that equipment, that we don't even have places to store. We have to rent 2 storage bins to store the equipment that's used for voting.
Appreciate you stopping by.
I'm glad to be here.
And we will see you next week at the same time. Have a good day.